And over the past year, I've been really grateful. I've had plenty of conversations about this conflict. The conversation I had with you directly after October 7th is one that really sticks out to me. So in the past year, hearing international dialogues, what do you think is missing from this really large conversation?
So in dialoguing, that's a very big question, and it's really a good question. What's missing in the conversation? Often I tell people, don't look at what's right and wrong in a conversation, look at who's missing from the conversation and what's missing. I would say in mainstream media, for example, voices like ours are often missing. And the commemoration of October 7th yesterday, I was looking at most of the major news outlets. Our voices, peacemakers' voices, were the most marginalized voices through the whole year. It's so much harder to get our voices on. I actually had to say no to so many interviews where they want me to get on and say, we will invite you to come and debate an Israeli military guy. And I say, that's not what I do. I'm not here to debate military people. I'm here to talk about how do we change the reality. I don't want to win. This is this is not a winning issue. And this thought just came to my mind, and it is really important. I think we have to decide, what are we willing to pay for winning, to Israelis and to Palestinians. And for me, killing 15,000 child, to Israeli child, if that would get me a Palestinian freedom, then that's not the route I want. It's very clear to me that's not the route I'm willing to take. And I know my Israeli partners have the same feeling, that killing 15,000 Palestinian children is not the route to Israeli security. So it's talking about the work we are doing. The second thing I would say, in curation, in creating those kind of conversations, making sure that there are Israeli and Palestinian, not just on the stage, but also in thinking, who do you bring? Who are the legit voices? Who are the voices we should amplify? And there are some incredible, incredible voices who have a lot of influence in Israel and Palestine that are often absent from the conversation. The third thing comes to my mind: when negotiations happen, for some reason, peacemakers are never invited. And so we often wonder why people keep talking about, oh, failed negotiations, they didn't do this, they did that. And I'm not surprised all these negotiations have failed. If people like us are not present, who do we have in those negotiations? Usually military people. They're not the best negotiators. They're not trained in diplomacy. Even when it comes to people who are diplomats, often they don't have that background of doing that work on the street. They don't have the pulse of the street. They don't have the relationship where we had to learn how to work with each other, Israelis and Palestinians. And I think this needs to change. Palestinians and Israeli peacemakers need to be in the room, need to be in the room of decision making, not only, oh, this is really cute what you guys do on the side. I'm sorry, but the people who claim to be experts have failed us. People who claim to be politicians have failed us. I would argue we don't have political leaders today. We have politicians who are interested in their own success and hold and power, but we don't have leaders who care more about the people than they care about themselves. And so we, the peacemakers, have to take that leadership on. And that's why we've been going and talking to politicians, have been going and talking to religious leaders, have been going and talking to really anybody who has influence, and try to convince them to be our ambassador. And we had some incredible success. Not We failed to stop the war so far, but we've had a success of building this conversation of, with Pope Francis. We asked him to be our ambassador to the G7 meeting because, like I mentioned, we don't get invited to those meetings. It's beyond me that they'll talk about us but never invite us. So we asked him if he would be our ambassador and if he would bring some of our messages, and he did. And for the first time, the communique of the G7 included in it a recognition of peacemakers and the need to have peacemakers involved and civil society role in solving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And that was Pope Francis pushing it on on world leaders. So we need more and more people like Pope Francis to do that, and world leaders to do the words they put in the communique.
That is really inspiring that the leader of the Catholic Church is the one pushing this message for peace in this conflict.